Okay, so in the previous video, we saw how the home lab was set up and we enabled sysmon logging on the Windows 11 machine. This is now grabbing sysmon event IDs and it's sending it to Wazuh, which we saw in the last video. I can't really show you any alerts now because I've purged all alerts in Wazuh to keep things, to clean things up, keep things simple. But in this video, we will be creating a test rule within Wazuh to further validate the logs are being ingested, um, so that we can create custom rules on it. I'll keep things very simple for this video. I'm going to create a test rule which will fire anytime someone runs who am I on on the Windows 11 machine. Who am I is it's a process. So whoami.exe is a process. So anytime someone runs the whoami command, this is what's actually running under the hood. And anytime this is executed, I would want to see an alert in the Wazuh dashboard. So how do we do that? First, open um, the Parrot OS. This is the rule that we will be adding to Wazuh. Let me break this down. First is every rule needs a group name. Here, that's Windows and Sysmon, but groups are usually used to organize your rules. And by wrapping your rules in a group, you can later write other rules that only trigger if a rule from the from this rule was fired first, if that makes sense. Uh, Second is we specify a rule ID for custom rules. It has to be between 100,000 to 120,000. Since this is a custom rule, I'm gonna assign this 100 and like this is the number that I'm assigning for this rule. And every rule has a level. Level is what determines the severity of the rule. Anything below 3 gets ignored. It doesn't even show, um, it won't show as an alert in Wazuh. 3 and above, I think 10 and above is high, but that's what this determines, yeah, the severity. I'm gonna set a level 7 so that we see the rule. This SID field is sort of necessary. I'll explain why. So if I go to Google, type Wazuh rules syntax, and also log into Wazuh 192.168.60.2. While I'm at this, I'm going to edit the etc host files. Cat etc hosts nano sudo nano etc hosts 192.168.60.2, which is the Wazuh's IP address, and I'm going to type in Wazuh here because I don't want to keep typing the IP address. So if I now change this to Wazuh and accept the risk and continue, it will work. It just makes things a lot easier. Not now. Actually, I should have saved the password, but I'll do that next time. Okay, if I go to the existing rules within Wazuh, that's server management rules, and search for sysmon, there's some event IDs that you can see. 61603 is the ID for sysmon event ID 1. This would need to match. Yeah, I don't know why, but if underscore SID in the Wazuh documentation states is a list of rule IDs separated by comma or spaces. Similar to parent decoder, it matches when a rule ID on the list has previously matched. Uh, when I previously tried creating a rule without this field, it didn't work, so I had to add if SID, um, which is what I've done here. So if SID matches the exact ID of sysmon event ID 1, and this is the field name that we're interested in. The process, which was calls win.event_data.image. PC is Perl compatible regular expression. PCRE is Perl compatible regular expression, and this is the pattern that we're looking for. So anything that ends with whoami.exe, this is an escape character, escape sequence character, whatever. Whoami.exe, that's what we're looking for. This is the description of the field, sorry, description of the rule, whoami command executed, and then there are more tags that we add, Windows process creation, discovery, and that's it. Now, this would have to be added to the local rules.xml, which can be found on the Wazuh server. So if I go to manage rule files and search for local rules, um, and click on edit, by default there's an example rule here which we can ignore, but under this rule we can add another rule that we just created now. So I'm going to copy this and paste it in here and click on save. Okay, so now if there's any process that ends with whoami.exe, it will trigger an alert. It will trigger a level 7 alert. Yeah, let's go test that. So if I go back to active, go to Windows machine here, notice the time is 11:51 on the Windows machine, 11:51. So I'm going to execute. I don't want to show you the logs now because I might have tested it before the video and you'll see some logs, but that's not, um, yeah, I want to like show what triggers the alert. So let's go run whoami at 11:51. But before that, yeah, let's make sure these logs are actually being ingested by Event Viewer. Because if you remember from the previous video, when we set up sysmon, we provided a sysmon configuration file, an XML file, and that XML file um, determines the logs that sysmon ingests. And things like calculator.exe are ignored. So when I previously tried making this video on calculator.exe, it didn't work because the sysmon config kept ignoring those logs. However, whoami is not ignored. So let's just quickly verify this is being ingested. If I go to Windows Applications and Services logs, open Microsoft Windows, and then go to sysmon, um, sysmon, click on operational, and search for anything that has go to whoami, hit refresh, open the first log here. This is a sysmon event ID 1 and it's for this image, right? For whoami, because we just ran that and I'm seeing this in the log. If I'm seeing it here, it should be sending this to Wazuh. Let's quickly verify. If I go to threat hunting, open Windows 11 in Wazuh, go to threat hunting and click on events. Click on hit. events. Yeah, okay. So this seemed to work. There was a slight delay. We didn't have to make that change. It's still um, the previous rule ID. I don't know. Sometimes there's a delay between, sending the logs and receiving it, which is why it didn't work. So I didn't have to make that change. But this is the test rule, as you can see, sysmon. So we've confirmed two things. We are ingesting sysmon event IDs, and we've built a custom rule on top of it. I'm going to delete the who am I rule because I don't really care about people running who am I at this point. And in the next video, we'll set up Caldera to run proper simulations on the endpoint and then work on creating detection rules around that. I'll see you guys in the next video.